Welcome back to Film Fanatics, where we talk about the movies that have us obsessed, excited, and inspired. And I'm Alan.
And I'm Gall, and this episode's going to be a home run, a slam dunk. Insert sports pun.
A knockout, I guess.
A knockout. We're counting down our top sports movies. And we do it in classic Film Fanatics top 10 fashion. And yeah, I mean, sports movies, they empower us, they entertain us. It's a very wide variety because there's a lot of different ones, and there's true stories. There's ones where sports just happens to play into it. There's sports comedies. I've seen a lot of great ones, so it really hurt to leave some out of this list. That's my disclaimer.
Yeah, for me, this list was a bit weird because as with war movies and stuff like that,
you don't like them?
I like sports movies more than I like war movies. But I have a lot of holes in my sports movie vocabulary, as it were. Mm-hmm. And so I had to watch a lot of new stuff to complete the list, which I always enjoy doing for this show. So it was a fun time.
Alan, do you want to start us off then?
I'll start us off for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So my number 10, I'm pretty sure you have not watched it ever. It is a football movie named The Damned United, starring Michael Sheen.
That kind of football. Okay.
The real kind of football.
Yeah. I haven't seen it.
So this is a movie from 2009, again starring Michael Sheen, Timothy Spall, Cole Meany, and Jim Broadbent. And it's a movie that takes place in the 70s, and it's about British football in the 70s and about a manager that takes over England's biggest team at the time, which is Leeds United. That's why the name is The Damned United, because they are awful. They're awful not in a sense sports-wise, they're just the most unsportsmanlike team ever.
Oh.
They keep breaking players' legs and doing a bunch
sounds like a really entertaining movie.
Bad things. And this coach is nothing like that. He wants a clean game. So that's his challenge when he gets to that team. And you also see his rise up to that team from a smaller team before. It's two different timelines going in at the same time. It's a really cool movie. It's nothing that crazy. It's not going to blow you away, but it's a fun time. And if you like sports, I think you're going to enjoy it. So yeah, it's a very British film also. So a very British humor, and if you like football, you're gonna have a good time.
Okay, it kind of sounds like Ted Lasso, but historical. I don't know.
Kinda, but he's a bit of a dick. He's not really like Ted Lasso.
He's not Believe.
He's kind of like that, but in a dickish British way.
In a Michael Sheen way.
Exactly. Michael Sheen, by the way, makes this movie. He is so freaking good in this movie.
Okay.
So my number 9 is Raging Bull, starring Robert De Niro and directed by Martin Scorsese. This list could have easily been only boxing movies.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I try to focus up a little bit and try to get some movies out of it. But this is one of my favorite boxing movies, Raging Bull. Again, I only watched it for the first time this week. It is a pretty good movie. I really don't like the 50s. It seems like a horrible era to live in. And everyone seems so awful. And being a woman seems like the worst thing in the world in this movie. And yeah, it's a fun time. Boxing wise, and also if you're the kind of guy that likes watching terrible shit happen in front of you. Yeah,
it's not fun from the woman beating part.
Yeah, that part is well pretty made. Awful. Yeah, but it's pretty well made. Yeah. So yeah, Raging Bull is my number 9. My number 8 is a baseball movie, Moneyball, from 2011, starring Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill, and Philip Seymour Hoffman. This is one of the movies that I have watched before. And you know me, I love me a good business type movie, real story kind of thing. So I had to throw one of these in here. And Brad Pitt is so good in this movie. It's so fun to watch, and I rewatched this week, and I had a blast. This movie.
It is the kind of movie. It's weird how easily you can just put on Moneyball whenever.
Yeah, it's kind of like The Social Network in that way. Like, at
I
least
mean,
for
it's
me.
Sorkin wrote both of them, so it's not like a...
I love listening to Aaron Sorkin dialogue.
Yeah.
Whenever I can.
And it's Bennett Miller, who has a really good filmography.
Yeah.
I think it was nominated for a ton of Oscars also. Not much else to say.
Yeah, it's a great movie, honestly. And yeah, it's a lighter one because this list has some tough ones like Raging Bull.
Yeah.
This is one you can just easily throw on. Like, it was harder for me to finish Raging Bull. No, not because it's a bad film. It's a great film, but it's a bit hard. Okay, so my number 7, another movie that I love so much, and it's way lighter than Raging Bull. It's Eddie the Eagle, starring Taron Egerton and Hugh Jackman. This movie came out in 2015.
I think it was 16?
No, I'm pretty sure it's 2015.
Okay, it was definitely after Kingsman. That's all I remember.
Yeah, and this movie captured my heart because a lot of these movies, like the sports movies, like you get beaten down a lot before things eventually kind of work out, and this one does that too, but like kind of in like a sweeter way. I don't know how to explain. It's a very sweet movie.
I get what you mean. I really enjoy this movie, even though he kind of like he's not one of the best skiers or anything. Like the movie doesn't make the case that he was great even, but they just make it in such an entertaining way. And Dexter Fletcher, like you can tell that Matthew Vaughn produced it, and Dexter Fletcher really gave it an edge. And this is when Taron Egerton had just broken out, like maybe a year after Kingsman.
Yeah.
And he's having a blast in this one.
Yeah, and I love Fletcher's like directing style. And this movie just like showcases it so well.
Yeah, I didn't even think of putting this one on my list, but it's a good choice.
It's a good one, right? Like I rewatched it this week, and it was such a good time. Okay, my number 6 is another baseball movie, which is incredible because I cannot stand baseball.
Me neither, but the movies are so good.
The movies are good. Like, so my number 6 is 42, starring the late great Chadwick Boseman and Harrison Ford. This one is also a modern sports movie. Came out in 2013. I don't remember if he got nominated for this movie, honestly.
He wasn't.
He wasn't?
He was only nominated for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Okay. He should have probably, because he was really good in this movie. But yeah, 42 is like the great story of the first African-American baseball player to play in the MLB. And he's played beautifully by Chadwick Boseman. And it has a beautiful like family story with his family life with his wife. And Harrison Ford plays a bit of a white savior, but in the best way possible.
Our favorite white savior, Branch Rickey.
Exactly.
Played by Harrison Ford.
He's such an asshole, but he's trying to do the right thing, and you're rooting for him to be able to do the right thing, even though the world is so against both of them. And yeah, this movie kind of sneaks up on you. Like, again, I watched it for the first time this week, and a lot of crying involved in watching this movie. And racism is like basically at the forefront of this movie for obvious reasons. And there's a scene with, I don't know if you remember, the coach. I think is he played by
like the guy yelling the N-word all the time?
Yeah.
I think that was Alan Tudyk, but he was one of the players.
Oh, yeah, it was Alan Tudyk. No, he was the coach for the other team.
Okay.
It was
Alan he just was like N-word, N-word, yeah.
He just kept going and going and going
I
while
remember
Chadwick was at the plate. And it was just such a heart-wrenching scene to watch because Chadwick's character, I keep forgetting his name, I'm sorry.
Bro. Jackie Robinson.
Jackie Robinson.
Come on.
Bro, I'm Brazilian. Do you think I know baseball shit?
I mean...
We don't even have baseball in Brazil.
I mean, listen. Jackie Robinson, it's a huge like historical name in the U.S. Since this is your number 6, I will say 42 is so good that it's my number 10 for my list.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That kind of worked out. That
did work out well. Number 10 for me is 42. This was actually one of the first, like, I guess, drama in a traditional sense movies that I saw in the theaters. And Chadwick Boseman's performance as Jackie Robinson honestly like gave me this appreciation for acting when I was like 10 years old.
That's good.
And because I hadn't really gotten into that many dramas in general. So like, yeah, and he really just shows the spirit of the player. I think it was, first of all, it was really interestingly directed by Brian Helgeland.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
And who also like wrote LA Confidential and A Knight's Tale. And I feel like the movie really showcased the spirit of what it is to like go against the odds and change the world when he asks Harrison Ford, so you want a player with the guts to fight back? And he's like, no, I want a player with the guts not to fight back. Which is like,
yeah, that was a great line.
Like he had to keep his dignity and be 10 times more of an example than all the white players in order to become the legend that he is now and pave the way for Major League Sports to be black centered. And I think as someone who was 10, I think it worked for me really well. Like it shows the racism of the time in a way that can be easy to understand. I don't think it's like the best movie ever about race relations, but it's a really great historical movie and one that I've even seen twice.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I'm very happy that wasn't one of the movies that I decided to watch for this week.
All right.
What's your number 9?
Remember the Titans with Denzel Washington. I had 2 Denzel movies that I was going to put on this list, but I ended up going with this one. The other one I would put as an honorable mention is He Got Game from Spike Lee. But this one I think is the most watchable and the most favorite. It's a beautiful movie about brotherhood, also about racism and about the first integrated high school football team, American football team.
Sorry. Go on.
Integrated between black and white players in high school. And the beautiful thing that the movie shows is how prejudiced the adults were, and they passed that down to their kids. But then they go to this retreat together, and suddenly they're like brothers. And I think it shows something about like youth and like how human nature is kind of beautiful, actually. And it's also very uplifting. It's very accessible. I think you can also watch this movie at a young age. And
isn't it a Disney movie?
It is a Disney movie, actually. I watched it for the first time on Disney Plus.
Nice.
But it is a really good one. It's one of the better movies about football. And yeah, Denzel is inspiring as always.
I'll tell you one thing. I have never watched Remember the Titans.
Damn.
It was on my list for this week, but I lost access to my Disney Plus until yesterday. So I couldn't watch any of the sports movies that were exclusively on Disney Plus.
I'd say I was pretty late to this game. I feel like even people who aren't into movies saw this one before me, at least at my age.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends that have watched this movie that are not really that into film. And I will tell you, I have no American football films here. One that almost made it but didn't because I didn't have time to rewatch, so I wasn't sure, was The Blind Side with Sandra Bullock.
Okay, I'll say that was an honorable mention for me. Great movie. It gets a little bit of hate because it's very like white saviorism, but that's a good one.
Yeah.
I loved Sandra Bullock in it.
Because I loved that movie, but I haven't seen it in probably more than 6 years, so I didn't feel comfortable putting it in the list.
Yeah.
What's your number 8?
Number 8 is one that I think is going to be really high for you.
Okay.
Ford v Ferrari.
Ooh.
This movie's just great. I don't know what to say. Like, I've also seen it twice, and it goes by so quickly for a longer than 2.5 hour plus movie. And Matt Damon and Christian Bale's chemistry is fantastic. And I don't think this movie has as amazing of a human message, but
yeah.
just like the way that the racing sequences are done, but also all the business in the background and the determination, and everyone there is there because racing is something that they can't live without. It's a great one that everyone I think should watch at least once. James Mangold did a terrific job. It's one of his best movies.
Yeah.
And I will say the other racing movie that I'd put as an honorable mention is Rush with Chris Hemsworth and Daniel Bruhl.
I was sure that you were going to put that as an honorable mention, but I thought Ford v Ferrari would be higher. I will refrain from commenting for now.
I think, yeah, I can tell. I don't know. I think the others were a little more like rooted in the sport that were higher on my list than rooted in the business. I don't know. That's why it took a while for me to consider Ford vs Ferrari on my list.
This is why.
No, listen.
Like, this is probably why it's higher on my list.
No, listen. Moneyball is probably a better movie than Remember the Titans. I just wasn't sure because it was such a business movie. I have here on honorable mentions Moneyball / Jerry Maguire ?
Question mark.
So that should tell you something.
Great. What's your number 7, Gal?
Number 7 is one that I just rewatched, Coach Carter, with Samuel L. Jackson.
Coach Carter. What year is that from?
I think 2005, but don't quote me on that. I should know better.
It's going to show here. There you go. If it's wrong, it is wrong.
If it's wrong, it's wrong. I hope it's something around that. Coach Carter is...
Is this also a football movie or is it a basketball movie? Okay. Because I also haven't seen this one.
All right. I think this is also... People should watch this one at least once in their lives. Samuel L. Jackson plays a real-life coach, Ken Carter, and he comes to a high school, like really underfunded. For that case, like most of the players are minorities because it's a very underfunded area. And he tries to turn them into a better team, but he also starts suspending games until they get their academics up because he makes their point that this basketball season can't be the highlight of their lives. They need to be able to go to a good college and have a life where they aren't just brought into gangs or crime like his friends in the time were. When you watch it, it's a really amazing message.
Damn it, I want to watch it now instead
Samuel
of
L.
talking
Jackson
to you.
delivers. Wait, we need to finish the episode. We're already here. Hey, put on Coach Carter right now. No, it's really good, and it's on Netflix, and it's actually got this really great message. And honestly, besides Pulp Fiction, I think this is my favorite performance of his.
It's high praise.
Yeah, I love this movie, and it was also one of Channing Tatum's first ever movies. So yeah, that's Coach Carter for you.
Great. What's your number 6? That's a great choice.
My number 6 is a boxing movie called Warrior.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, wow. Warrior is from 2011, directed by Gavin O'Connor.
I got it right. I got it right from 2011.
It's a beautifully made movie. And it's about two estranged brothers who are building up to a match against each other in the boxing ring. And they're played by Joel Edgerton and Tom Hardy. And their dad is played by Nick Nolte. And he's like an alcoholic and has been estranged from them for a while. And Nolte was nominated for the Oscar for this movie. He's terrific. And especially Tom Hardy's relationship with him, I think, was really great. So I think also this one works so well because of how it roots the character drama in the sports. I don't think this is more of an uplifting one, but I think it is like an excellent drama. And I think like wide audiences still really love this movie. If you haven't heard of Warrior, if you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out.
It's been on my list forever.
It's one of a million reasons to love Tom Hardy. So yeah, that's my 10 through 6.
Yeah, it's been on my list for a while now. Along with Remember the Titans of the ones on your list, and I'll get to it, I promise. But yeah, my number 5 is Creed 2. Creed 2 is a fantastic movie, directed by Stephen Cable Jr. in the Rocky Creed franchise. If I could, would have I just made this whole list Creed and Rocky movies? You're damn right I would have.
But then I would have called you boring.
Exactly. So I limited myself a bit. But Creed 2 wouldn't be on my list, but I rewatched it this week, and it's better than I remember it.
Bro,
being.
Tell me that training montage is not like A+ filmmaking.
That training montage might be the best
training
training montage
masterpiece
in film history.
Like
honestly, that might be the best training montage.
Like you watch that and you're like, holy shit. But also this whole movie, I don't think it's as good as the first movie, but I think it's almost there because the emotion that's there. And also like you really remember the lows that he goes through too, which is important for like the journey. But also the Drago characters are really fleshed out.
Yeah.
Because Ivan's actually trying to redeem himself the whole movie.
Exactly. And like Listen, I rewatched the whole Rocky franchise this week,
Nice.
which was rough at points.
Really?
Oh yeah, Rocky 5 maybe when I like shoot myself.
So that's the one I've never seen.
Don't watch it. It's not great. But every other one is actually pretty watchable. Like
I don't think I've seen the Clubber. Is that 3 Clubber Lang?
I think so.
Mr. T. I haven't seen
Mr.
that
T's
one either.
on the third one. It's I think I even gave it like a 4 stars or
okay.
a 3.5. Like it's pretty good. The only one that I gave less than a 7 was Rocky 5. And I gave it a 4.
Who's the villain in Rocky 5?
Oh, the villain in Rocky 5.
That's a bad sign. He doesn't even remember.
Oh, it's Tommy Gunn. I don't know. I don't remember who plays him. It's a kid named Tommy Gunn. That Rocky trains him and like he's a bad guy. It's not great.
I don't. That's one that I don't think I've even seen clips from.
You shouldn't. You just shouldn't.
Okay.
But anyway, Creed 2 is directed by Stephen Campbell Jr. Came out in 2018, 3 years after the highly successful relaunch of the Rocky franchise as Creed, and again, like in the first one, Michael B. Jordan, Sylvester Stallone, Tessa Thompson are fantastic here. Felicia Rashad,
love her.
Great people here, and this movie grabbed on my heartstrings way more than I was predicting it would. I gave this movie originally an 8 when I saw it back in 2018, and I rewatched it for the first time this week, and I bumped it up to a 9. It's beautiful filmmaking. That training montage coupled with that last fight scene with Drago is insane. And like by the end I was like bawling.
It's such like
I know it's such a like
it's
a
such
weird
like
dude thing to like cry
like,
at a boxing movie, but whatever.
These Creed movies honestly give me hope in healthy masculinity.
Exactly.
Except for the part where they beat each other up to settle their beef.
Exactly.
But it's not about the punching, it's about the dignity.
Exactly. So Creed 2, fantastic movie. Love it to death. My number 4 is a more recent one. King Richard from 2021. We reviewed this movie here on the channel. I'm not sure if it's on YouTube. Probably not, because we didn't have YouTube at the time. But you can find it in our Spotify, probably, Apple Podcasts, all that. We loved this movie. It was both of our favorites for 2021. I think it was maybe my second or third favorite movie of 2021.
I remember you said it was like right after Dune or something, like number 2.
So it might have
For
been,
me, it was 4.
Yeah, it might have been my number 2 movie of 2021. I love Will Smith. I know it's kind of weird to say that nowadays, but whatever. I love the man to death. This movie, something that a lot of people don't know about me is that like I only actually like 3 sports. Football, of course, number 1. Then tennis and boxing. Those are the only 3 sports that I like, and I think it should... No, I actually like basketball a lot too, but whatever. Those are the 3 main sports that I love. So like, you can see it in my list.
This is the part where Gaul sits in silence because he forgot to put King Richard on his list.
Oh, there you go. It always happens.
See,
here.
like it would have been. I'm glad I included some movies that we haven't talked about here, but it's a really good one, deserving of the spot. And tennis has been a somewhat part of my life because my dad is like, movies for me is tennis for my dad. So like I went with him and both my grandpas to see King Richard in theaters. It was a really great experience.
King Richard was directed by Reynaldo Marcus Queen. I never saw any of his other movies. I don't even know if he had any?
Monsters and Men. I haven't seen it, but it's with John David Washington. It was a really indie movie. And then he directed the show We Own This City, which I watched with John Bernthal.
Okay. So this movie gave Will Smith an Oscar for all the right reasons. I'm not counting what he did at that Oscars night.
Movie alone. Movie
alone, like, his performance is transformative. That's not Will Smith that you see up there. That is Richard. And just the whole story, again, involving racism and also a little bit in a lesser form, of course, because it's a more modern, involving like just growing up like extremely poor and having to deal with it, and the fact that his dad was like just planning all of his kids' life to a T so they would never have to suffer the way he did. Well, bro, I get teared up just thinking about it. It's just such a good movie.
This is one of those movies where people are gonna look back, like the Shawshank Redemption or Wizard of Oz, and they're gonna be like, "How did this bomb at the box office?"
Exactly.
Because I guess HBO Max, but it shouldn't have.
Yeah, I watched it at HBO Max when it came out.
But exactly, if they had released it, I hope it wouldn't have bombed. I hope more people watch it if they hadn't, because King Richard is damn good.
It is damn good.
It slaps.
It slaps. It for sure slaps.
Okay, what's number 3?
My number 3, back to my favorite sports franchise of all time.
Nice.
It's Rocky 1 from 1976. Until now, I had only watched from the Creed Rocky franchise, Rocky 1, Creed 1, and Creed 2 before this week. And then I watched all
now
the
I've seen all 9.
Now I've seen all 9. It was a weird
It's a
week.
journey.
It was a weird week, man. Like,
Trust me, your Scream binge is gonna be easier.
I hope so, because Rocky was hard, because they're very similar movies. But Rocky 1 is such a special movie, man. Yes, there's a lot of like kind of like cheesy stuff in this movie, a little bit like very 70s cheesiness. And Sylvester Stallone is still getting his acting chops. I think starting on
he was nominated,
which is great, crazy to think about, because I'm coming from an angle that I watched all these movies in a row, and he only got, like, in my opinion, like, better as an actor in like Rocky 3 or something like that.
Interesting.
Like,
I think he definitely acts better in Creed than he did in any of the last ones.
for sure. Like in Creed 2 and Creed 1, it's his better performances in the whole franchise.
But you're saying he doesn't hold up in the first one? Because I haven't seen it in a couple of years.
He does, but in like a 70s cheesy kind of way. You know what I mean?
Not in like a 70s excellent movie kind of way.
It feels weird saying that, because like he wrote this movie, and this movie is amazing, and he wrote it because he just wanted someone to take a shot at him, and nobody would, and he went out there and he wrote this movie, which is now regarded as one of the best movies of all time. And like, yeah, man, I love this movie. Again, I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about it. Like, this movie, first time we see the training montage of this movie, it's just like, oh, man, it's so good. And I want to shout out is the composer Bill Conti. He like created the first renditions to like the Rocky theme that we see used even today in Creed 3. He like created that in the 70s, and it's, honest to God, one of the most amazing, most uplifting, most incredible pieces of sound in movie history. Like, flat out. And that's it, man. This movie is just amazing. I didn't think it would get me crying. Fucking got me crying again. And yeah.
Okay, I think I know your 2 and 1. Okay, what's number 2?
My number 2 has been mentioned on this show already.
Okay, I was gonna guess that. You didn't give me my moment.
Ford versus Ferrari from 2019. Man, Ford versus Ferrari, man. This movie, we were talking about dad stuff. My dad was really into F1. Formula 1 racing, and he was very into tennis. So that's why these are
King Ford.
2 very important sports for me, because I grew up watching them with him. Like we would wake up on Sunday morning to watch the race and all that. Ford v Ferrari, like directed by James Mangold, is like, honest to God, in my opinion, the best like racing movie ever made.
Did you see this one at the theater?
I didn't.
But the sound is so good in the theater. It's like what people were saying about Top Gun Maverick, how it's like classic blockbuster sound action. Like, that's the kind of entertainment that I hope they throw more money towards, like racing movies like this, because it would be great. Maybe Ferrari has some big racing scenes.
Oh, you just gotta hope.
Michael Mann.
But yeah, like Christian Bale and Matt Damon are like unbelievably good. I know they're usually pretty damn good, so it's not that surprising, but they're playing like kind of like different roles than they usually play, I feel, in this movie.
This is honestly starting to become one of my favorite Christian Bale performances. I know it's like a crime to say that, but
I kind of agree with you.
Yeah, like it always had a soft spot in my heart because he's just so like savage and fun, but you never hate him for like all the shit that he says in this movie.
You never really do, and like he wants it so bad, and like even though he's like fucking up left and right, like you keep like rooting for him and you keep like being like, I want something that much. Hell, that's probably how we fucking feel about movies. Like to want something that much and to like believe in something that much. Yeah, man, like this movie is fantastic. This and the number one in my list,
I think I already know it,
are both 10 out of 10 for me.
Now that when you made that connection between Ford versus Ferrari and King Richard being special to you, I just realized John Bernthal's in both movies.
Oh yeah, you're right. Are you ready for your second part of the list?
You know what, Alan? I am.
What's your number 5?
My number 5 is a movie that won the Academy Award for Best Picture, $1 Million Baby.
$1 Million Baby.
Directed by Clint Eastwood, which got him his second Best Directing Oscar and an acting nomination, and won Hilary Swank and Morgan Freeman their Oscars for acting. Hilary Swank is incredible in this movie, first of all. And she plays Maggie Fitzgerald, who's the character that comes up to Clint Eastwood and asks for his help. It's, again, a movie that's as rooted in the characters as it is with the boxing. The dynamics are really investing. The performances are at times heartbreaking, but Hilary Swank is just immersive and she disappears. This is the kind of performance that you just will remember even if you didn't love the movie. And the ending, I won't spoil have you seen it?
I have seen it.
Okay.
But it's one of those films like The Blind Side that I watched it so long ago that I didn't feel comfortable putting it on my list. But
Fair.
I'm sure if I did, I would have put it on my list.
So Blind Side I feel like if I rewatched it, maybe it would make the list. But back to $1 Million Baby. The ending, if you've seen it, it's fantastic. If you haven't seen it,
I remember it. Yeah, it's pretty great.
I feel like it's the kind of ending where it's even been like characters in The Office have talked about it. Like it's kind of become a cultural thing, sort of like the ending of Titanic with the raft. So if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. It's one of the best movies that Clint Eastwood directed in his entire career, and that's saying a lot because he's an incredible filmmaker.
Yeah, not much for me to add here. I wish I had rewatched it this week. I did not have the time to rewatch that many movies because I watched like 10 movies this week. But it would have definitely made my list.
Number 4, Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner. It's a really beautiful movie and it's just so human. Kevin Costner's, I think this is his best performance, honestly, even better than like Dances with Wolves or something, because his character is honestly just so down to earth and relatable. I know this is such an American thing to like this movie, but I only watched it like a year ago for the first time. I was really late to the game with it, but the dynamic he has with reconnecting with his deceased father through baseball and then going on this journey with this journalist played by James Earl Jones. I think it's got a really great message about the power that sports or pop culture has with connecting people, especially like a father and a son. And have you seen it ever? Okay, so all I'll say is this is another movie with a beautiful ending.
I've heard of that ending, but like I never watched it.
Like I think the ending is like Kevin Costner's best acting moment ever, and he's just like, again, he's very like, I guess a down to earth character, but it's a movie that doesn't ever slow down or preach to you. But it is a movie that I think left a huge cultural impact in like even casual people in America. I think it's a really good one.
Yeah, I've heard about it in like TV shows and all that, like so many times.
Yeah, if you build it, they will come. That's an iconic line. He builds the baseball field, and then the ghosts of past baseball players start coming, like Ray Liotta, the one who he plays. I don't remember the name. But I think it does have a nice thing to say about the way something like sports or popular culture or popular history can connect people from whatever profession or part of the world. I really like it.
That's beautiful. What's your number 3?
Number 3 is an equally heartwarming and smiley movie called Raging Bull.
Oh, God.
Raging Bull is amazing. Let me just say that. I believe it was Martin Scorsese's first directing nomination and De Niro's second acting Oscar win, where he played Jake LaMotta, who I think when I saw this movie, LaMotta had recently passed away. I saw it in like 2017. But you know, Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, what can go wrong? And I think like the boxing is really immersive, but also the makeup work and all the filmmaking. And
I love the cinematography in this movie.
Yeah. Like it's hard to make a black and white movie this engaging for me, but when it works, it really works. And again, this is like Martin Scorsese has such a diverse portfolio that I wouldn't ever call this one my favorite of his, but if you said, I think the best Scorsese movie is Raging Bull, I would get you.
I would get you, but not really.
Like, best.
It is not. Okay.
I would get it, but I wouldn't agree.
I wouldn't agree either, but I would get it. What's your number 2?
Wow, boxing movies are really high. Number 2 is Rocky.
Rocky.
So yeah, Sylvester Stallone jump-started his career with this movie and left a bigger cultural impact than I think any sports movie in history.
Yeah.
Because if you see anyone running around and doing this motion, then you're like, oh, you're acting like Rocky. Or people go to those steps in Philadelphia
I would definitely
just to reenact the scene. Or the theme, like you said, the messages, it's about, you know, even in the later movies, like in Creed, the messages about, you know, having to, you know, not compete against whoever your enemy is, but your enemy is the person in the mirror, being better than yourself yesterday, rather than having to rank yourself above others. All these interesting messages that Rocky has, and I think the acting was really good too, like Talia Shire as Adrian, or Burgess Meredith as Mickey. Mickey's his trainer,
so
right?
Good. Yeah, he's so good.
Yeah, I love it. Even though Paulie's an asshole, I think his acting was really good too.
He gets so much worse in the other movies.
Really? Okay, so I haven't seen all of them.
He gets way more racist, way more sexist. Like he just goes on a like downward like trajectory.
Wait, did he die in the movies, or is it just Mickey? Or did he die off screen?
He died. He died off screen before Creed, I think.
Oh, so was he alive in Rocky Balboa?
Yes.
Oh, I don't remember.
It's very
that.
weird. It looks.
I don't remember that.
He looks very old in Rocky Balboa.
So yeah, and yeah, like Stallone's acting is interesting, I guess, but it's fun to do his voice. Like, life ain't about how hard you hit; it's about how hard you get hit and keep moving forward.
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I like doing that. He has a scene in Rocky Balboa where he talks to his son, and he has that monologue.
Can we take a moment to appreciate Rocky Balboa? That movie is so much better than it has any right.
It holds up more than people give it credit, right?
It's honestly for me like my 4th favorite of the franchise, or 5th maybe. But it like really holds up. It's like a solid 8 for me. Like, it's a damn good movie,
Yeah,
and it would have been on this list if I didn't control myself.
You'd think that like this is the first time they tried a legacy sequel for Creed, and I feel like legacy sequels are sometimes better now than they were in the 2000s.
Yeah.
But I think Balboa holds up, right?
It holds up because it's not actually a legacy sequel, because he's not training anyone. He's training himself.
No, but it was like 16 years later, right?
No, I know, yeah, for sure. But like, I mean, like, in the sense that he's not like passing the baton or anything.
Yeah.
He's just fighting himself, which is insane. It's like 50. But like, it has one of the best endings in the franchise because he's 50. Like, he shouldn't be like up for as long as he is in that fight. And like, you get emotional and you get invested and you're like, fuck it, I don't care that this is so unrealistic. I'm so happy for my man Rocky.
It's the Top Gun Maverick of Rocky Balboa.
Exactly.
He's like acknowledges that he's aging and everything. But there was a different actor as his son, right? It wasn't Milo Ventimiglia.
No, it was Milo.
Oh, he was?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't recognize him when I rewatched
he was very
the
young
scene
in Rocky Balboa.
Okay, I should have known that. So this is before he even like broke out, I guess.
Yeah, in 2006, yeah, I think.
Yeah, so this is before he even did This Is Us. Okay, I think we have the same number one. So do we want to just say it?
Yeah, we definitely have the same number one. Let me just take
Show
Rocky's
it
name out of it because we're putting his successor appear.
That's right.
Creed.
Adonis Creed.
I'm gonna put Alan and Gauss.
That saves us some time here. I can go home quicker. No, I'm just kidding.
So Creed, god damn it, Creed. Fuck, Creed is a movie, indeed, from 2015.
Look, if we're going with best versus favorite, this is favorite for me. I'm not saying best of all time, but I'm saying favorite.
Same here, yeah.
Because around the time the third one came out, which is just now, I was also thinking about the first movie a lot, and I was like every time something came up, or I was like rewatching a scene, because I rewatched a lot of the clips from the last two Creed movies to get ready for Creed 3, and it just blows me away. Like, I think this was Ryan Coogler's, like, because of this
second
and Black
movie?
Panther and Fruitvale Station, yeah. Like, now he's this bombastic name in Hollywood. He has all these producing
This was
credits
like
and
his
so much
first
power.
big movie.
Yeah, he went from Fruitvale Station with Michael B. Jordan to this. He came with Stallone and Warner Brothers with the idea and with Michael B. Jordan in mind. And it ended up with $200+ million and reinvigorated the franchise. Stallone was nominated for another Oscar. And I think everyone who loves Rocky loves Creed as well.
Yeah, I will say that probably what a lot of like old school film fans feel about Rocky is what we feel about Creed.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but I actually watched Creed before I ever watched Rocky.
I think so too, honestly. I think I watched Creed when it came out and then Rocky like a year later.
Exactly. And like when Creed came out, I went to see it with my dad, and he was a huge fan of the Rocky franchise.
Was there like skepticism there? Because I remember
my dad is usually pretty positive when it comes to movies.
Because I remember when the trailer came out, I was like, holy shit, this looks good for the first Creed.
Like, we went in, and I think I was probably like 17, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we went in, we watched the movie, and by the end, I was of course bawling. It was really bad. My dad is also a big crier, so he was also crying. And I turned to him and I was like, man, I think one day I want to write something like this. So like
That's beautiful.
This is one of the movies that like
I didn't know that about this movie.
That like really like I've said this a lot in this show about like falling in love with movies, but this is the movie that made me wanna like create things.
I knew this was in your top 20, but I didn't know that about Creed.
It's my
for you.
15th favorite movie of all time.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Creed is like, it's honestly a special movie on its own, even if the 7th movie in the series. I think a lot of what worked about Creed 2 and 3, I think is credited to the energy and the innovation that this one had. So wonderful. Not just Adonis's, the beginning of his journey in these movies, but also I guess like how modern it is, and the one take shot I love.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Everything with him and Tessa Thompson, the beginning of their relationship, his dynamic with Rocky, because it starts with Rocky sort of giving him this platform to become a boxer like his dad, but then at the end he says like, he says that like Adonis saved him. He has a whole speech where he's like, your dad helped me when Mickey died, but what you've done, you taught me to fight again. No one's ever done that. Like, it's this beautiful moment in the ring that Rocky tells Creed this, and yeah, Creed, man.
And this movie, bro, this movie just gets me every time, man. I was watching it again, of course, through my rewatch, and I got to this movie on Friday, so one day before I watched Creed 3, or Thursday. One day before I watched Creed 3. I watched Creed 3 on Friday.
Yeah.
And Thursday night, I watched Creed 1. And I was like, no way it's going to hold up as... Because I've watched it like 2 or 3 times. And I think it's not as good as I remember. And I always get myself corrected by myself. I'm like, yeah, this is the best fucking thing ever. Like,
honestly, I think this is the closest that we have to like a boxing epic in a way, because you know, like he journeys cities and like the way it's paced feels almost like, yeah, it's just really, really good.
And man, Tessa Thompson in this movie, man.
Tessa Thompson in every movie, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm not talking about how pretty she is. I'm talking about
no, I know that's not
her. She's pretty in this movie. But as she is everywhere. But her character in this movie is the best female character in the Rocky franchise.
Yeah.
And I have no qualms about saying that. First of all, she's a grade A plus actor.
Mm-hmm.
She's at the level that she's maybe gonna win an Oscar someday. I honestly think so.
Yeah.
And but her character actually goes to like a heart-wrenching character development. Like usually in these movies, like you focus on how difficult it is for the main guy, you know, like for Creed or for Rocky. This movie, Tessa's character, I forgot her name. Can you remember?
Bianca.
Thank you. Bianca has fantastic character development, and her situation with her hearing, and being a singer, and how that, like, beautifully like metaphorizes. I don't know if that's even a fucking word. How that beautifully like mirrors the boxer's thing of like there's only a set amount of time that I can do this. It's
I never
honestly
thought of that.
It's
Damn.
honestly a thing of gold and a thing of screenplaying beauty.
I think it's important that by the time you get to Creed 3, well, also in Creed 2, but like the movies are almost as much about her, which I haven't seen all of them, but did Adrian have like as much agency as Bianca?
No.
She's mostly
she's
just
pretty much playing the wife in most of the Rocky movies. I will say she gets a lot better and a lot more screen time in the other movies, but as very much as Rocky support. She's very much either very against or very pro him fighting. Is like a very like
whatever the plot needs
kind of thing. Yeah. With Bianca, I feel like it's a whole other level of character development.
Yeah, different movie, but in Creed 2, when she opens for not for Rocky, when she opens for Adonis in the final battle, and she has that song.
Oh, it's so good.
Epic,
so good.
Like when the lights dim, and then yeah. But I also have a crush on her, so I'm biased.
We all do. But yeah, man, this movie got me again. And I think there's not probably a sports movie that I ever gonna see that are ever gonna do what this movie does for me every time I watch it.
Wow, yeah. We definitely left each other with some recommendations. I think you only had one that I hadn't seen, which was The Damned United. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I had a couple that you haven't seen. You had a couple that I haven't seen, or that I haven't seen for a while.
Yeah, there's one more that I almost put on my list, which is A League of Their Own with Tom Hanks and Gina Davis. Great baseball movie. Mm-hmm. And then Hustle was a good one from last year with Adam Sandler. I don't know if you ever got to it.
I still haven't got to it, but I will get to it before awards.
One that I think would be top 15, but also like kind of a joke, is Dodgeball, A True Underdog Story, which is like, it's a great movie, but it's a dumb comedy. So I figured it wouldn't quite be as good as these brilliant movies.
Yeah. Honestly, if you let me, half of these would have been Rocky, but whatever.
I just remembered when we talked about Rocky, John G. Avildsen, the director, and I was like, holy shit, how did I not put The Karate Kid anywhere near considering? But yeah. Karate Kid's also a classic, but Rocky's ever so slightly better.
Karate Kid is a similar thing for me where I haven't watched in years, so I don't want to put it.
I don't think I've watched it in a while, but I've watched Cobra Kai, and they come out like every year, so I'm like subjected to the characters again.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm gonna watch it. Let's do one thing. When Cobra Kai's final season comes out, I'll do a rewatch of everything and we'll do a special episode about it.
But that's also one where I hear that there's like very mid sequels.
No, I won't rewatch everything. Fuck that. But like,
there's
I'm not gonna do the same thing I did for Rocky.
Yeah, Alan, you need your sanity for these episodes.
I do need it. I'm losing it. Rocky 5 destroyed me.
It's that bad?
It's so bad. It ends with a street fight. It is the most 90s.
Does he win or lose?
He kind of wins, I guess, but it's the most 90s street fight ever, and it sucks. This was actually a really fun episode. We rarely do one that is just the two of us anymore, and it was pretty fun.
It was worth it.
So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Remember to follow us. There you go. At Film Fanatics Spot on Instagram.
And sub.
Yes. Sub right there.
Sub.
Oh, right there actually. Oh, I'm only fucking it up. So subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave your favorite like Rocky movie or Creed movie in the comments. Signing off. This is Alan.
And this is Gal.
Bye guys.
Film Fanatics. From the silver screen to your earphones with Alan Azulay and Gal Balaban.